In mid-2022, Canadian TikToker Andrew Dawson started one of social media's strangest mysteries. His videos appear to capture a towering, humanoid figure on a distant mountain, and soon after, he claimed to be stalked by government agents.
What's going on?
Road's closed. Turn around.
Really?
Yeah, man. Just turn around, please.
Andrew Dawson was a 34-year-old Canadian man living in British Columbia. On TikTok, where he went by the handle Andy Capped, he initially posted ordinary, light-hearted content. His early videos, since mid-2021, were clips featuring his dog, friends, and daily life. However, in April 2022, seemingly overnight, he went from posting short clips to claiming he had filled a giant creature on top of a mountain. This pivot would launch him into virality and infamy. Dawson's strange saga began on April 9th, during a drive near the Rocky Mountains. In a TikTok video posted that day, Andrew filmed the distant peak of a mountain and zoomed in on a peculiar figure at the summit.
There's a person standing there.
No, it's not.
Dude, if you've seen what I've seen right now.
The figure was tiny in the frame and the video was shaky, as Dawson was zooming in with a phone from a moving car, so viewers couldn't discern much detail. Nonetheless, the idea of a giant on a Canadian mountaintop earned Andrew a lot of views. Most viewers were obviously skeptical, criticizing the video's poor quality and accusing Dawson of jumping on a trend for attention. Though encouraged by the interest in his post, Andrew engaged with commenters and doubled down on his claim. He insisted that he 100% believed he saw a giant and indicated he wanted to investigate to get further proof. Over the next week, he would post multiple follow-up videos as he tried to get closer to the truth of what he saw. On April 11th, 2 days after the initial sighting, he returned to the area to see if the giant was still there. He shot another TikTok from a different vantage point, looking at Canoe Mountain. The figure was no longer visible on the summit. In the video, Andrew noted that he spoke to some locals who said it comes and goes, suggesting whatever he saw wasn't permanently stationed up there. This only fueled the mystery, as was the giant a living creature that moved or something periodically visible under certain conditions. Later that same day, he would post another video explaining a strange encounter he had while trying to drive up the mountain. He claimed that as he headed towards the area on a mountain road, he was stopped by an individual who he believed was an intelligence officer. This person, described by Andrew as possibly a CIA or government agent, told him to turn back due to a supposed environmental issue closing the area. In Andrew's recounting, the agent was blocking the road, essentially preventing him from getting closer to the summit, and he became very suspicious of the flimsy explanation and implied the roadblock might be related to covering up whatever he saw. 2 days later, determined and very undeterred, Andrew woke up at 5:30 a.m. to make another attempt before authorities could be around. In a TikTok he filmed in his truck in the early morning, he explained he was going back to the site of the roadblock, hoping to slip by unnoticed. A few hours later, as the sun rose, Andrew captured something unexpected, a bright light hovering in the sky above the mountains. He posted the TikTok of this UFO-like light and even set it to the X-Files theme music, playing up the eerie vibe. The caption on this video was, "Did the thing on the mountain go home?" saying that maybe the giant was an extraterrestrial that had departed in a spaceship. The light eventually vanished. To an observer, it looked like a glowing orb or aircraft in the dawn sky, but what exactly it was remains unclear. Later that same day, Andrew posted another video from his truck.
So they're extracting something out of here. There's 2 helicopters. What the f?
He thought that the authorities might be airlifting the giant or whatever was on the mountain away by helicopter. The footage did show a helicopter with cables hanging a heavy-looking package. Andrew's 4th video taken this day depicted yet another strange incident. He drove up a back road in the dark. A man, who Andrew recognized as the same agent who stopped him before, stood in the headlights. Andrew covertly recorded as the man sternly told him, "Road's closed, turn around, just turn around please." The TikTok video shows his camera quickly dipping down as if he hid it while the conversation continues. Then, Andrew complies and leaves. In captions, Andrew identified the vehicle as the same mysterious black car from earlier. This interaction clearly rattled him. His voice in the recording sounded nervous and apologetic, knowing that he'd been caught snooping again. At this point, people following the story realized that Andrew's giant hunt was turning into something larger, with someone clearly intent on keeping him away. 3 days later, Andrew would post a very worrying video. In the clip, he films through his window blinds, then steps outside to reveal the same black vehicle idling on a street near his house.
Hey!
Whoever had been stopping him on the mountain had now followed him to his own home. Many commenters began urging him to be careful and take this very seriously. After the stalking incident, Andrew went quiet for a while. No new TikToks for about 20 days. Viewers started to wonder if something had happened to him, with some even speculating that he might have been silenced. Then, in early May, Andrew suddenly returned with a very different kind of video, raising even more questions. On May 6th, Andrew broke his silence with a TikTok video that initially seemed to deflate the entire mystery. In it, Dawson speaks directly to the camera and delivers a confession of sorts.
Hey guys, I just want to give you an update. I'm not dead. I have not disappeared. I have just been busy with life. I couldn't get around to posting and updating you guys, so now I'm going to give you an official update of what's been going on. Sorry to disappoint you guys, but all of the videos that I posted were scripted. They're just fake. They were just strictly for entertainment. I'm sorry to disappoint you guys. I just needed to give you a quick update.
Andrew was claiming the whole Giant and CIA storyline was a hoax he made up. However, the way Andrew delivered his message was far from reassuring. Viewers immediately felt that something was off. In the clip, Andrew obviously appears visibly anxious. His posture is stiff, and he keeps glancing to his side as if someone else is in the room watching or directing him. His tone is very flat, and he's standing against a blank white wall background that he's never used in any previous videos. The sudden change in his demeanor led many to suspect this apology was forced. To add to the confusion, Andrew's TikTok bio reportedly had a strange update around this time, saying, "Taken by the FBI, I'm not dead." True or not, it reflects how suspicious his followers were of the confession clip. Many did not just accept the fact that it was all fake at face value. In retrospect, this video appears to have been a half-truth and half-fabrication, as we'll learn later from Dawson's family. That Andrew didn't leave things here. In mid-May, he posted 2 final videos, as if sending a last message. On May 16th, Andrew posted a 9-second video with the text caption, "I am scared." In this clip, he's filming himself while walking quickly through a dimly lit house. He speaks only a single ominous warning.
You might not see me post ever again. My videos weren't fake.
His frightened tone and the abruptness of the video deeply unnerved those following the story. If this was a hoax, he was surely taking it to a dramatic climax. If it wasn't, then this video felt like a genuine farewell under threat. The very next day, Andrew's final TikTok was posted. It's a 19-second video apparently shot from his truck, once again focusing on a mountaintop. This time, instead of a giant, the camera zooms in on a newly visible structure on the summit, some kind of building or installation with lights. In the video, Andrew says, "What is that? That was not there before." Andrew was obviously implying that the facility had appeared on the mountain where the giant was originally seen, as if a military or scientific outpost had been hastily erected to investigate or cover up the phenomenon. The video ended without further explanation, and Andrew did not post anything else after this. There were no more TikToks, no updates, nothing. His audience's worst fears seemed to have materialized, as Andrew seemed to have ominously predicted we might not see him again. Over the next several weeks, speculation exploded across TikTok and other platforms. Some hoped he had just gone offline to avoid trouble, whereas others truly feared that something bad might have happened to him. But tragically, they were right. In early July 2022, confirmation came that Andrew Dawson was dead, and that's when the conspiracy theories reached their peak. On July 1st, 2022, just 6 weeks after his final video, a local news outlet from Dawson's hometown published an obituary for Andrew Ryan Watchorn Dawson, aged 34. The obituary listed his surviving family members and loved ones, but did not give a cause of death. It noted his date of passing as July 1st, 2022, and described him as being a loving husband, father, uncle, brother, and son. This brief notice was the first public indication that Andrew had indeed died. Immediately, rampant speculation arose that Andrew Dawson's death was not a coincidence. Many believed he had been silenced for what he had discovered, essentially murdered by the FBI or a secret agency to keep the giant under wraps. This theory might sound extreme, but recall what the TikToks had shown. Mysterious agents warning him off, his own fear that his life was in danger, and then an untimely death. to the conspiracy-minded, it fit a very classic pattern. The leading theory was that some group, whether the FBI, CIA, or Canadian CSIS, got rid of Dawson. Perhaps they directly killed him, or they staged his death or accident to make it seem self-inflicted. Though another group thought the obituary might be fake, and that Andrew had intentionally faked his death to escape the spotlight. Skeptics noted that the obituary was posted very quickly on the same day as his reported death, which is unusual for families to do so fast. They also pointed out the fact that on that newspaper's site, anyone could submit an obituary without rigorous verification. Some alleged that no official records, like death certificates or public death notices, could be found for a 34-year-old Andrew Dawson. Additionally, people scoured social media for his relatives, and people noticed that his supposed sister, a frequent Facebook poster, never mentioned his passing publicly. These anomalies led to theories that the obituary was a hoax, and that Andrew Dawson might not even be his real identity. Of course, there was also a more down-to-earth explanation. Many suspected that Andrew's death, while real, had a cause very unrelated to any conspiracy, as some people saw the TikTok series as likely a hoax or storytelling experiment that had sadly coincided with Andrew's personal struggles. At first, without any input from Andrew's family, the theories dominated the conversation. The mystery was also amplified by the fact that Andrew's TikTok account had stopped updating exactly when he warned it would, though some people also thought that if the CIA were truly involved, they'd have simply wiped his videos entirely, which they had not, implying that the whole thing wasn't a serious threat to any real secret. In the months following Andrew's death, members of his family addressed the situation publicly, providing crucial context. On a Reddit thread discussing Andrew, a user identifying himself as Gerald Holbrook wrote that he was Andrew's nephew. Gerald confirmed that Andrew had indeed passed away on July 1st, and that his death was due to mental health struggles. He revealed that Andrew had been laid off from his job and was suffering, implying suicide. Gerald also stated emphatically that those videos were fake and all the people in the videos were friends. According to him, Andrew was a sort of prankster, and the TikTok giant saga was a staged hoax done for fun. He mentioned Andrew left behind a young son and the family was grieving. Gerald's name did appear in Andrew's obituary as a family member, though obviously there's no way to verify him further. Andrew's long-term partner, Salma Awad, also came forward with her perspective. On October 21st, 2022, Salma posted a video on her TikTok account addressing Andrew's fans. In a calm and factual manner, she confirmed that Andrew had a long history of depression and that tragically he succumbed to it. In other words, he lost his battle to mental illness. She emphasized that his death had nothing to do with TikTok videos or any conspiracy. However, she did add one nuanced detail. According to her, the videos were real except from the cars and the person that stopped him, suggesting that Andrew did genuinely film something on the mountain, being the giant and perhaps the helicopter and light, but he staged the interference by agents. His friend pretended to be a CIA officer, and the car stalking him must have also been a friend. This also aligns with Gerald's claim that the people involved were friends helping him. Even with these clarifications, a large segment of the internet remained very unconvinced. Some very dedicated followers continue to insist there's a cover-up, arguing that even the family statements could be part of a disinformation campaign. But we can step back now a few years later and look at all the evidence. The giant on the mountain may not have been a giant at all. People eventually pinpointed that the mountain Andrew filmed was Canoe Mountain in British Columbia, which has a known telecommunications tower on its summit. The first video, shot on April 9th, was shot from a highway where the tower was visible on the peak, and Andrew might have interpreted it as a giant figure. When he returned on April 11th from a different angle, the tower was no longer in line of sight due to the terrain, so it might have appeared missing. In Andrew Dawson's final video, he filmed a mountaintop structure and was alarmed it popped up overnight. People determined that this was almost certainly the Jasper Skytram upper station on Whistler's Peak. Whistler's Peak is part of Jasper National Park. If Andrew was in the town of Jasper for that last video, he could see the tourist gondola station on Whistler's. Unfamiliar with it, it might have looked like an inexplicable fort on the ridge. But in reality, the Skytram has existed since the 1980s, at that exact spot. Though for the helicopters and lights, there's no solid other explanation. In rural British Columbia, it's not uncommon to see logging helicopters or survey teams flying with equipment slung below. It's plausible that Andrew saw a normal helicopter operation and wove it into his narrative. The bright light in the sky has no real solid explanation. For those super skeptical, you could say he might have added it in post-production, but it's more likely he did just see something strange. Since even Andrew's girlfriend couldn't explain that part, we can simply treat it as an authentic sighting that got put in the narrative. Though obviously the strangest piece of the puzzle is the timing of Andrew's country's passing. The timing, however, ensured that the TikTok mystery and his death became forever linked to his dedicated followers. This video is sponsored by ZocDoc. Since I moved to America from the UK, that's why I finally tried ZocDoc. And honestly, it made the process so much easier. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors who fill your needs. You can see real availability, read verified reviews, and book instantly, often within a few days, sometimes even the same day. So if you've been putting off an appointment, check out ZocDoc.com/serious. It's completely free and genuinely takes the stress out of finding the right doctor. On an afternoon in late February 2025, 66-year-old Cuauhtemoc Temo Garcia set out on his regular 10-mile walk through his quiet Cerritos, California neighborhood. Garcia was a beloved husband, father of 2, and a successful businessman who never missed his daily exercise routine. But on February 25th, his peaceful walk would become his last. Around 12:30 p.m., witnesses heard several loud gunshots ring out near Don Nabe Community Regional Park. By the time help arrived, Temo Garcia lay dead on the bike path. The killing in such a peaceful public space was already strange enough, but then came the real question that would consume investigators. Who would murder a man during his lunchtime walk? Witnesses had seen a man and woman following Garcia on the bike path shortly before the shooting. The woman appeared tense, clutching her purse and even running at times to catch up with Garcia. Moments later came the gunshots, but then the mysterious couple had vanished without a trace, as if they'd never been there at all. Lead detective Luis Aguilera quickly said that this was not random violence. Garcia had been deliberately targeted by his killers, but then investigators faced even more strange details. Nothing was stolen from the victim. The motive still remained completely unclear. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department released a grainy surveillance photo of the unidentified couple and appealed to the public for help. Garcia's grieving family joined the effort, standing at the park handing out flyers with the suspects' images. But then days passed with no arrest, no leads, and no answers. Within a week of the killing, the case began gaining wider attention. On March 7th, Fox 11 broadcasted the suspects' photos to a larger Los Angeles audience, hoping someone might recognize the pair. Tips trickled in, but the breakthrough would come from an unexpected place for the police. While detectives scoured CCTV footage and followed traditional leads, an anonymous viewer of that Fox report turned to social media and discovered a clue that had been hiding in plain sight on TikTok. It turned out just days before the murder, a pair of tourists visiting from Florida had a disturbing encounter caught on camera with a man and a woman at a Panera Bread restaurant in Cypress, a neighboring Orange County city. They had uploaded the video to TikTok, never suspecting it was connected to any crime. In the short clip, the couple can be seen saying racial slurs at the Floridian tourists in the Panera parking lot. The TikTok user, who goes by Letty T, had originally posted the clip simply to document the incident, a shocking confrontation that was entirely unrelated to Garcia's murder, at least on the surface. But as anonymous viewers watched this TikTok, they realized the angry couple shouting in the video matched the descriptions and images of the unknown suspects from the news. The viewer immediately contacted authorities about the TikTok post. Detectives reviewed the footage and their suspicions were confirmed. The two people in the video were the same man and woman seen following Garcia moments before his death. Once the connection was made, the news itself spread rapidly on TikTok. The original video by Letty T was taken down, but clips of it and reaction videos began circulating on other accounts as the word got out about its role in the case. Letty T herself expressed disbelief at the turn of events. "I never wanted to use it as content to begin with," she wrote in a follow-up post, "but let me tell you how happy I am. Because of that video, justice is being served." Law enforcement publicly acknowledged that this social media tip was the linchpin. Prosecutors later stated outright that the TikTok video helped them crack the case and identify the suspects. But then came the challenge of actually finding the suspects, who seemed to have disappeared completely. By now, authorities now had their names: John Chong-uk Moon, aged 54, and his sister, Cindy Kim, aged 58. But then the investigators discovered the siblings had no known address and were essentially living out of their silver Toyota Prius to stay under the radar. Police issued an alert with the suspect's information and vehicle description, but then the question became whether or not they could be found before they disappeared completely. Just 2 days after the TikTok tip came in, on March 9th, officers in Fullerton spotted the wanted Prius. But then Moon made a desperate decision. When police tried to pull them over, he hit the gas police, and a tense chase ensued through Orange County streets. The pursuit ended when an undercover officer executed a precision pit maneuver, sending the Prius spinning to a halt. In the takedown, John Moon and Cindy Kim were finally taken into custody. After roughly 2 weeks on the run, the brother and sister duo were behind bars. Investigators later revealed more about the crime. Moon and Kim had targeted Garcia not out of a personal vendetta, but for something far more mundane and cruel. They just wanted his car. Prosecutors revealed that on February 25th, the pair had watched Garcia park and begin his walk, then attempted to steal his vehicle. But then when Garcia refused to hand over his keys, they shot him in cold blood and fled. Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced that Moon and Kim would be charged with murder as well as attempted second-degree robbery. If convicted, each faces the possibility of life in prison. For Garcia's family, the arrest brought a measure of relief to their heartbreak. Michelle Garcia, Temo's wife of nearly 30 years, said in an interview, "Thank you so much. You have made such a difference to our family. So we can bury my husband, at least knowing that they have the people in custody. So again, thank you so much." On a warm summer evening in 2021, Joana Pecker drove through the quiet streets of St. Petersburg, Florida with her 2 young children in the back seat. The 27-year-old mother had agreed to meet someone at Woodlawn Memory Gardens Cemetery, but this evening, something very sinister would happen. Her 4-month-old infant sat secured in his car seat, while her 4-year-old quietly played nearby. Joana parked her van among the weathered headstones, unaware that she had just driven into a trap. The person she was meeting had convinced her this was about family, about giving him a chance to see their baby son. She entrusted him enough to come alone. At 5:30 p.m. on July 31st, gunshots were heard. When police arrived at the scene, they found Joana still in the driver's seat. Multiple gunshot wounds had ended her life instantly, but the horror didn't end there. Her 2 terrified children were still in their seats, physically unharmed, but witnesses to their mother's execution. The killer had fled, leaving behind a scene that would haunt even seasoned investigators. Within days, police had identified their primary suspect. The person Joana had trusted enough to meet in that isolated cemetery was Benjamin "Bambi" Williams, her estranged boyfriend and the father of her infant son. Witnesses confirmed that Williams had lured Joana there under the pretense of a family reunion, but his true intentions were obviously far darker. This wasn't Williams' first brush with violence. Investigators discovered that he had been arrested approximately 40 times since 2007, with charges ranging from drug offenses to armed robbery, but now he faced the most serious charge of them all, first-degree murder. The problem was finding him. By the time authorities issued an arrest warrant, Williams had vanished completely. The man who had just committed one of the area's most shocking crimes had seemingly evaporated into thin air. Joanna's mother, Eleni Pecker, found herself living every parent's nightmare. Instead of going and finding a white dress for my daughter's wedding, I was gonna find a white casket to bury my daughter, she said in an interview. The dreams she had for her daughter's future were replaced by the reality of planning a funeral. What followed was an exhaustive 3-year manhunt that stretched across state lines and international borders. Law enforcement agencies pulled out every tool in their arsenal: the US Marshals Service, the ATF, and a $25,000 reward leading to Williams' capture. In 2022, the case gained national attention when it was featured on In Pursuit with John Walsh, a program dedicated to tracking down notorious fugitives. But Williams remained a ghost. Tips came in sporadically, but each lead would be nothing upon investigation. Months started to stretch into years, and the case began to feel like it might join the ranks of the many unsolved murders that haunt police departments across the country. But in late 2024, TikTok user Jasmine Alexander, a true crime enthusiast, posted a short video about Joana Pecker's case. The clip featured news footage from the investigation and carried a message above the video: manhunt for man who killed girlfriend while holding her 4-month-old baby. It was the kind of content that regularly circulated in TikTok's circle of true crime, but this time it reached the exact right person. Thousands of miles away from St. Petersburg, someone watching that TikTok video experienced a moment of recognition that would change the case entirely. They knew Benjamin Williams. More importantly, they knew where he was hiding. The viewer who recognized Williams in that TikTok video possessed information that had eluded law enforcement for years. Williams was in Mexico, living under the radar, while his former life in Florida remained a crime scene. But this person was more than just a casual observer. They understood the gravity of of what they had witnessed and took immediate action. According to St. Petersburg Police Chief Anthony Holloway, the witness didn't simply call the tip line and hope for the best. They went directly to the US Embassy to ensure their information reached the right authorities. She went to the US Embassy and notified the Marshal Services, who notified us, Chief Holloway explained, describing how a TikTok video had succeeded where traditional manhunt methods had failed. Armed with this new information, US Marshals coordinated with Mexican authorities to locate and apprehend Williams. The fugitive, who had managed to stay hidden for 3.5 years, was finally within reach. In late November 2024, they found him and placed him under arrest, ending one of the longest manhunts St. Petersburg had ever seen. On December 3rd, 2024, Chief Holloway faced news cameras with an announcement that the town had been waiting for years to hear. Benjamin "Bambi" Williams had been captured, extradited, and booked into jail on charges of first-degree murder and 2 counts of child abuse for the trauma he had inflicted on his own children. Gabby Petito was a 22-year-old aspiring travel blogger who set out on a cross-country van life road trip in the summer of 2021 with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. The couple documented their journey on social media, posting scenes of them hiking in national parks and road trip adventures. In late August, those cheerful posts abruptly stopped. Gabby's last known contact with her family was on August 25th, during a video call from near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. But then, nothing. Days passed without new content. Her family in New York tried calling, texting, reaching out through every platform they knew. The cheerful travel blogger, who never missed a chance to share her adventures, had gone completely silent. Meanwhile, something strange was happening 2,000 miles away in Florida. On September 1st, Brian Laundrie pulled into his parents' driveway in Northport, Florida. He was alone, and he was driving Gabby's van, but he wasn't talking. When Gabby's family finally reported her missing on September 11th, they had no idea they were about to witness the birth of a new kind of investigation. Within hours of the news breaking, TikTok users who had never heard of Gabby before this suddenly became invested in finding her. The hashtag Gabby Petito exploded on TikTok, amassing more than 500 million views by mid-September. These videos range from breakdowns of Gabby and Brian's travel timeline to analyses of their body language and police body cam footage from a domestic dispute the couple had on the road in Utah.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't push, but I was just trying to push her way to go. Let's just take a minute, step back and breathe. And you see, she got me with her phone.
Can I see your hand? Oh, you got a mark right here.
Oh, that's from a wire.
I am separating the two of you tonight. Okay?
TikToker Haley Tamayan was among the first to post about the case. Her initial video garnered over 700,000 views, and the comment section became a sort of collaborative workplace. Users began sharing theories, timeline details, and observations about Brian's suspicious behavior upon returning home without his fiancée. Users pored over maps of Wyoming's wilderness, plotted out the couple's last known movements, and traded theories on the comments. Some began to track the couple's digital breadcrumbs, noticing that Gabby's social media activity halted after August 25th. On August 27th, it was confirmed that an odd text was sent from her phone referring to her grandfather by a name she never used. Others kept an eye on Brian Laundrie's behavior. He had lawyered up and refused to speak to police upon returning home, which struck many as suspicious. By mid-September, as official investigators struggled to nail down areas to search, online users on TikTok were combing through any available clue. But the real breakthrough would come from an unlikely source. Miranda Baker had no intention of becoming a key witness in a national missing persons case. She was just trying to help a stranded hitchhiker on August 29th, when she and her boyfriend spotted a lone figure near Grand Teton National Park. The young man seemed desperate for a ride, offering them $200 for what should have been a short journey. But then his behavior turned strange. When he learned that they were heading towards Jackson Hole, he became agitated, demanding to be let out of their vehicle immediately. He seemed like he needed to get out. He was kind of antsy, Baker would later say. The hitchhiker told them that he'd been camping alone for days while his girlfriend stayed back at their van, working on social media posts. Baker thought very little of the odd encounter until she saw the news about Gabby Petito. The missing woman's fiancé looked remarkably similar to her anxious passenger. On September 17th, Baker posted her story to TikTok, and the video went viral within a few hours. But more importantly, it provided investigators with a crucial timeline. If Baker was correct, Brian Laundrie had been hitchhiking alone in Wyoming on August 29th, 4 days after Gabby's last confirmed contact with her family. But that wasn't the only TikTok tip that would prove vital to the case. Jessica Schultz, a traveler who had been camping in Wyoming in late August, took to TikTok with something she had noticed.
So I saw Brian Laundrie parking his van August 26th at Spread Creek. And I wasn't 100% sure, but now that there's dash cam footage of the van where I saw it, I'm 100% certain that I did see him parking his van.
The encounter stuck with Schultz, but then weeks later, she saw the news about Gabby Petito and recognized both the missing woman and her white Ford Transit van. I called the FBI and said, "Guys, look at Spread Creek," Schultz later recounted. Her tip reached federal investigators on September 16th. According to Schultz, the FBI agent told her that while they've received hundreds of calls, you guys are the ones that really tipped us off to the right place. But there was still one more piece of digital evidence that would prove crucial. Carl and Jen Bethune were travel YouTubers who happened to be filming in the Grand Teton National Park on August 27th. They were simply documenting their own adventure when they captured something extraordinary without realizing it. When the Gabby Petito case exploded on TikTok, the Bethunes began reviewing their footage from Wyoming. There, in the background of their travel video, sat a small white van with Florida plates parked off a dirt road at Spread Creek. The van looked abandoned, with no signs of life around it. Recognizing the potential importance, the Bethunes quickly posted the clip to social media with a red arrow pointing to the vehicle and the caption, "We found Gabby Petito's van." They immediately forwarded the footage to the FBI. The video spread across TikTok and YouTube. It corroborated Jessica Schultz's account and provided investigators with a precise timestamp, August 27th, just 2 days after Gabby's last contact with her family. On September 19th, 2021, the convergence of social media tips and official investigation reached its conclusion. Search teams discovered human remains in the remote Spread Creek camping area, exactly where TikTok sleuths had directed them to look. 2 days later, the FBI confirmed what millions of followers had feared. The remains belonged to Gabby Petito, and her death was ruled a homicide. The Teton County coroner would later determine that she had been killed by strangulation, likely in late August. The TikTok community that had mobilized to find Gabby was devastated, but their efforts had accomplished something remarkable. Jessica Schultz directing the FBI to Spread Creek, Miranda Baker's hitchhiker encounter, and the Bethunes' accidental footage had provided law enforcement with the focus they needed to search millions of acres of wilderness. Videos tagged #Gabby Petito accumulated over 650 million views. The manhunt for Brian Laundrie continued for weeks under intense social media scrutiny until his own remains were discovered in a Florida nature reserve in October 2021. Police ruled that he had ended his own time on Earth. In May of 2010, 20-year-old Zhu Lei walked out of his Shanghai apartment. He would never come home. His wife waited, his toddler son waited, and his family in the province searched everywhere. But Zhu had simply disappeared, one missing person among millions. By 2018, the toddler was now 10 years old. His father had become more of a story than anything. With only photographs to remember him, the family had never stopped looking, but hope was wearing thin. 600 kilometers away, in a small town most people couldn't find on a map, restaurant owner Zhang Yijie noticed the homeless man lingering near her shop. He was silent, filthy, and carried nothing that could identify him. Then in late 2018, a glimmer of hope appeared from an unlikely place. Something about the demeanor made Zhang suspect that he might be a missing person, alone and far from home. She and another local gave him hot meals and a change of clothes to keep him warm. Realizing that conventional methods might not be enough, Zhang turned to social media for help. On November 4, 2018, she recorded and uploaded 13 short videos of the unidentified man to Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok. The clip showed her gently trimming the man's matted hair and overgrown beard, while asking viewers a simple question: do you know this person? She expected maybe a few hundred views. Instead, the videos exploded across Chinese social media. One clip hit 5 million views. Suddenly, millions of strangers were staring at the face of an unnamed vagrant, sharing his image across the entire country. Among those millions of viewers was Zhu Lei's sister. At first, she wasn't quite sure. 8 years of living rough had weathered her brother's appearance beyond easy recognition, but then she saw it, a distinctive scar on his left knee, the same mark her brother had carried since he was a child. The proof she needed was right there, captured in a random 15-second long video. Then, Zhang received a call from Zhu's family. The pieces of the puzzle were finally coming together. The unnamed homeless man she had helped was indeed Zhu Lei. The man had been missing for nearly a decade. On November 10, 2018, Zhu was brought back to his hometown and reunited with his loved ones, including his overjoyed wife and the son who had last seen his father as a toddler. Without a restaurant owner's compassion and a social media designed for entertaining videos, Zhu Lei might have remained a missing person forever.